Hello, can we
Yes.
start? Okay, okay, okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Aksa. I welcome you all on behalf of the entire team of MedExam, MedEmo and Home e-learning. And today we are here to discuss about MRCG Part 1. Is my voice audible and clear to all of you? Can anyone please acknowledge me for that?
Yes, yes, it's very clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. Yeah, so let's begin. So today we will be discussing what MRCG Part 1 is, what is the syllabus for that exam, and how do we prepare for
Ma'am, your voice is not coming. Please check your mic.
shall we
Yes, sure.
start? Okay, okay,
Yes, please.
okay. Hello, knows there's a degree, there's a exam known as by the name of MRCOG or membership of Royal College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists, but we really don't know what this exam is about and how to approach this exam basically. I and the whole team here is here to help you out in the best possible manner to guide you towards your success, achieving your success and making it an easier journey for you because it's a doable exam. If you did your MBBS, you did your post graduation degrees, so it's also one of the doable things that you all can do, but it really needs hard work and consistency with that. So what is MRCOG Part 1? It's an internationally recognized qualification for the career progressing in obstetric and gynecologist. It's a key part of the UK training program in UK, and all obs trainers have to pass this exam. MRCG Part 1 is preparing for a long journey as it doesn't end here. It takes you through MRCG Part 2 and Part 3 as well, and then finally you become an MRCOG consultant. So first we will be discussing that how do we apply for this exam, a paperless MRCOG Part 1 exam. Now, if you have done your post-graduation exam either in MCPS or FCPS, usually now these exams are being conducted on computer system. So for this, same goes for MRCOG Part 1. Because of the current pandemic situation, they have turned the exam into the computer-based exam. So you will have to, so you're familiar with this sort of pattern, and definitely we will be helping you here with the practicing tests that how to approach this exams on from your computer to help you out.
Doctor, because you called the patient, so we cannot prepare. Hi, he just called me here when I started the OPD. Hey, we are on the way. I said, okay, fine, now not what to do. They should know na, that.
So how do we apply for the exam for the first time? You will have to log into the website, that is www.rcog.org.uk members registration. And there you will need to fill your details with your name and the email address. Then you will be provided with a code and your account has been created on the RCOG website. After that, then you need to fill an eligibility form. That is, it's the second step of your exam for booking. So once you're eligible for that booking, once your eligibility criteria has been met, then you'll be able to book for the exam. And once you fill that login ID, your qualification, that what you have done so far, mention in that. After filling that eligibility form,
Dr. Akshay, your screen is not visible. Okay, it's okay now.
is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am, you can resume now.
Okay, thank you so much. So how to submit your eligibility application form? So first you need to fill that form. It's a PDF document in which you will be inserting the college number or the code that has been sent to you once you create an account. And along with that, in the PDF file, you need to either attach your medical degree or the registration certificate, which can either be your original primary degree certificate or it can be your medical registration certificate, provided that it has medical. And make sure that the degree, that who has a degree with FRCOG or an MRCOG. Is it clear till here? Any confusions? So please ask me if you do have. Okay, for the exam for January 2021, as you all are planning, inshallah, to give your exam in January 2021. So the booking application, it will open after 3 days from today. That is Thursday, 17th of September, 2020. And the eligibility date has already passed. That is on Thursday, 27th of August, 2020. You will need to submit your eligibility form. And after that, once the booking application, it opens on 17th of September, it will end or it will close by 22nd of October 2020. Now, what is the examination fee? The exam
Hello, we can't hear you.
£475, which your country falls under. It is also yes. Any question? Now, if a person who has already given the exam,
Pakistan prices.
Sorry. Hello? If a person was already given the exam and is reappearing for the exam, so also for them, the booking applications will be opened from the same date. That is 17th of September 2020. There is no difference in both of them. Just already the difference is that the eligibility form has been done. So they just need to log in into their account and fill the requirements over there and just submit the form after doing the payment options. Now coming to the exam format for MRCOG Part 1, we have two paper. Like for MCPS or either for FCPS, we have two paper for Part 1. It's paper 1, 50% of the marks, and for paper 2, 50% of the marks counts. For paper 1, the time duration is 2.5 hours, or you will having maximum 150 minutes, in which you will be given 100 single best answers to be solved. And for paper 2, the same duration is there, 2.5 hours or 150 minutes, and you will have to solve 100 single best answers. In between paper 1 and paper 2, you have an 1 hour break after paper 1, and then paper 2 begins. Now, what comes in paper 1 and what comes in paper 2? That is the most important thing that we should be knowing. So for paper 1, we have these subjects: anatomy, embryology, genetics, physiology, endocrinology, biochemistry, and biostatics. For paper 2, we have pharmacology, pathology, microbiology, immunology, biophysics, clinical management, and data interpretation. Make sure that in the exam, they are really very concerned that what subjects they have mentioned for part 1, paper 1, they will be limited to paper 1. And the subjects that are mentioned in paper 2, they will only be limited to paper 2 only. Now talking to paper 1, the most important subjects or the major content of the paper is anatomy, along associated with few questions, around 10 questions from biostats, and then endocrinology. These are the most important subjects that you need to have a grip on them. With regards to paper 2, yes, pharmacology and pathology, it forms a major portion of the paper 2. Along with that, clinical management and data interpretation, that you will be given a report of a full blood count or a CBC report is there. You have to identify, is it an anemia or if any urea creatinine report is given to you. You need to identify what is the abnormality there. Sometimes an arterial blood gases report is there. So you have to tell them that what type of abnormality it is. So this comes already studied in your part FCP. Now for paper 1, as you can see in this, anatomy occupies a major part. Then comes the endocrinology that occupies a major portion of the exam. And then comes the small topics like biochemistry. We have embryology, physiology, embryology, and then comes stats. For paper 2, the major portion is from, if you can see here, the major portion is from pharmacology, pathology. These are the most important for paper 2 subjects. Now, how to prepare for this exam and from where to study? These are the questions that everyone has been going through in their mind right now. So the main books that we need to focus is an Oxford revision book and Essential Revision Guides. These are two books that you need to follow. But the problem with Oxford Revision Note is that it was published in 2011. After that, there's no update with this book. So we need to follow with the updates thing. Not obviously, anatomy will not change, anatomy will remain same, the physiology will remain the same, the biochemistry will remain the same that you have already studied. But in terms of percentages, like percentage of preeclampsia, percentage of hypertension in pregnancy, these percentages we need to take the help either from the Green Top guideline and from the NICE guidelines to be updated in our knowledge. And then after reading a part of the theory, you need to solve single best answer, because practice will make you perfect. Needs to practice and revise again and again, because practice will make you perfect. Even if you miss some points in your theory part, you will be covering that part from your single best answer. So if we take the example, like study one subject like physiology and then solve SPA from all sources to get an idea how to approach
There's no voice. No. No voice, ma'am.
Is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So what are the books that we need to practice for the SPAs? We have the most common books is the Andrew Caesar. Second one is Catherine, and the third one is Ankush Raut. These are the most common books and the most recommended books as well. Even when I was doing my exam, I also followed these books. And then comes the question banks, which includes past MRCOG, strategy, on examination, busy SPR. From all the question banks, you need to subscribe, because as sharing their files is illegal and considering as violating the rights of RCOG. But definitely, we will be helping you to solve all these SB, and I'll be posting these questions and discussing with you on daily basis every day. Now, why it is important to solve these SPA? You need to study one subject thoroughly and then solve single best answers from every possible source. Why? It will enhance your ability to get a catch on the catchy points in the SPAs. That is what is the most important thing or what is the most likely thing. Then comes, it can the question can ask you either what is the least important thing or the least likely thing. All the options will be given to you and they will ask you to mark what is the except, or all of the following options are true, but which one of them is not true. So you will have to mark that, or you will have to differentiate between any point of the disease also. That will be doing it. So what we follow here, that I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand more and more. Because with practice, I become skilled. That is why practicing is the key to success, especially for part one. You don't need to go anywhere. You have a very limited syllabus related only to obs and gynae, which you have already done it in your MBBS period, in your post-graduation degrees. We are just here to polish that skills for you and to give you a platform to support you. So learn, study, practice, skills, and work. They all go together. Any questions before we move ahead? Or is it clear to all of you?
What is the price in Pakistan rupees?
It's in Pakistan rupees, it depends because it becomes around 80 to 85,000 because every day the rate changes no, for the pound.
Okay.
And it's very important thing that you must all be working women. Definitely, you being a mother, you have been working, you have to take care of all of your duties together. But definitely, if you work hard for a period of 4 to 5 months, this exam is doable. It just requires your consistency. Even if you study for 3 to 4 hours per day is more than enough for you. But it is the way that you study it in a smart way. That's the most important thing. Then this exam of part 1, it's a very doable exam. If I can do it, then you all can do it. So from now onwards but from today onwards, we'll be starting with the anatomy module. I'll be starting today with the anatomy of the anterior abdominal wall. I know you have all been studied in your MBBS duration. You might have studied in your post-graduation part 1 examination. So we are going to just revise it. I'll be just revising all your knowledge again back into you, and then we'll be solving the questions together to see that how the exam comes. Okay, so what is the abdominal wall? It is composed of multiple muscular and facial layers. It encloses the abdominal cavity and it protects major internal organs of our body, that is stomach, intestine, the liver, biliary system, spleen, kidneys. The abdominal wall is divided into 9 regions. Can anyone tell me what are the 9 regions? I can hear you, but your voice is very low. Anyone would like to...
Epigastrium, hypochondrium, left hypochondrium, right hypochondrium, and epigastrium, and lower iliac, left iliac region and the right iliac region, umbilical region, and the left and right lumbar region.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent, yeah. Look, if we see here, it's the right hypochondrial region as you told us, and at the left hypochondrial region. In between comes the epigastric region. Then we have the right lumbar and the left lumbar region, which encloses usually our kidneys, and the ureter starts from there. Then we have in between the umbilical region, that is T10, if you remember. And then in the lower part, we have the right iliac region and the left iliac region. In between, we have the hypogastric region. Now, what are the layers of anterior abdominal wall? Can anyone tell me? You all have been practicing doing your cesarean sections every day now and then. So how do we cut those layers in cesarean section? Would anyone like to give it a try?
The skin, fascia, then anterior rectus sheath, rectus abdominis muscle, and then visceral peritoneum, parietal peritoneum, and then towards the utrovesical pouch, and then to the uterus.
Yeah, uterosacral pouch and towards the uterus. Okay, so now you are going to read it for us, that what are the layers that you cut during your cesarean section?
Yes, I can. It is
Yeah,
the skin,
Aisha, please. Yeah.
fascia,
Yeah,
then
superficial
external
fascia.
oblique muscle, internal oblique muscle, transverse abdominis muscle, rectus abdominis muscle, fascia transversalis, peritoneal pad of fat, and then parietal peritoneum.
Yeah, exactly. So we just only cut the muscles, and we cut them in the number, like we cut them in the names of external oblique, internal oblique, transverse abdominis, and the rectus abdominis muscle. Now, superficial fascia, it is divided into Camper's fatty layer and the Scarpa membranous layer. So what is the Scarpa fascia? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what are these two layers? Okay, I would tell you that superficial layer, it is divided into the fatty layer, that is the layer of Camper, or the Camper's fatty layer we call it. Then we have another layer, this is known as the Scarpa membranous layer. Now what happens with this Scarpa fascia, it blends in deep down, it goes into the thigh, and it blends there with the deep fascia of the thigh. So it becomes, in the thigh, it will become the deep fascia of the thigh. When it goes down into the peritoneum, it becomes as Colles fascia. So same fascia is there with the name of Scarpa's fascia, but when it goes into the thigh, the name changes, it becomes deep fascia of the thigh. When it goes into the peritoneum, it continues as Colles fascia. So with depending on the region, it just changes its name. Now, these are the layers that we have discussed, that it starts from the superficial and going to the deep, starting from the superficial, and then we are going deep. Sometimes what can happen in the exam, you have a question in which you will be asked to tell the layers from deep to superficial in the opposite direction. From deep to superficial, then you will be starting from the parietal peritoneum, then the transverse fascia, extraperitoneal fat, transverse abdominis, internal oblique, external oblique, superficial fascia, and then the Scarpa fascia, Camper fascia, and then comes the last will be the skin. If we go in the opposite direction. Yes, we will definitely, we are recording the session and definitely it will be uploaded soon. So in the exam, we have two types of questions, especially in the recalls. There was there that the question was asking you from deep towards the superficial. But now anytime it can change, that the question can come from the so one is pyramidalis, abdominis muscle. Is my voice audible?
It's audible now.
All right, thank you so much for acknowledging. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'll just begin from here again. So what we have in the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall, we have anterior wall muscles, which are of two. The number one is rectus abdominis, and the other one is pyramidalis muscle. So coming to the rectus abdominis muscle, it originates from the pubic symphysis and also from the pubic crest. And where does it insert? It inserts into the xiphoid process and costal cartilages of the ribs between 5 to 7. That means the costal cartilages means that it has a in the ribs of 5, 6 to T, along with that subcostal nerve, that is T12. It is supplied by inferior
Trunk flexion, compression, abdominal stance, expiration. Nice.
So I was discussing about the pubic crust, and it gets inserted at the xiphoid process and costal cartilages of. Is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Can anyone please? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you, dear. Thank you so much. So rectus abdominis muscle, it originates from the pubic symphysis, pubic crust, and it gets inserted into the xiphoid process and costal cartilages of ribs between 5, 6, and 7. In it is supplied by inferior and the superior epigastric vessels. The nerve supply for rectus abdominis muscles, intercostal nerves T6 to T11 and subcostal nerve T12. Or you can simply remember it T6 to T12 nerves. And what is the function of rectus abdominis muscle? So the function of rectus abdominis muscle is it will help you in flexion, compressing the abdomen.
Me also.
Is my voice audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for the interruption. I don't know what has happened.
We can resume now.
Thank you so much. So we have pyramidalis muscle, the second muscle of the anterior abdominal wall. The
Ma'am, screen is not visible.
Ma'am, please share the screen.
it is going to be. Hello.
Yes, please share the screen again.
Okay.
Okay, it's visible now.
We have pyramidalis muscle. It is found in 80% of the population, and in 20% of the population, this muscle
Again, no voice.
pubic symphysis. It gets inserted into linea alba with this. Are you?
No voice, ma'am. Very difficult to hear. No voice.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
No voice, ma'am.
Doctor, again, your screen is off.
Unmute yourself, ma'am.
There is some problem with the internet.
At my side.
Yeah, at your side, it is voice is disrupting and it often disconnected. So your screen goes off and you again share the screen. If you can switch to Wi-Fi, please check.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'll check it for that.
Okay, we can resume now.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. We have two muscles in the anterior abdominal wall. The first one is rectus abdominis. Found in 80% of the population muscle is not present. It's not a, it's definitely a person can work. Remember it, PPP, that is pubic crust, pubic symphysis, and pyramidalis muscle. And it is inserted into the linea alba. It is supplied by the inferior epigastric vessels, and it is innervated by subcostal nerve T12. The function of this muscle, it helps in the it tenses the linea alba. So if you look here in this diagram, you can see the fibers of the rectus abdominis muscle. They're going in the downward direction, and pubic and pyramidalis muscle, it's a very small muscle which is found in 20% of the population only. Now we are going to talk about the muscle of lateral wall muscles. Now, what are the muscles that are included in the rectus lateral wall? It includes rectus abdominis, external oblique, internal oblique, and transverse abdominis. So from where the external oblique muscle arises, it arises from lower 8 ribs, and it inserts into the fleshy fibers into the anterior 2/3 of the outer lip of iliac crust. So if you can see here in this diagram, this is the external oblique muscles. You can look at the direction of the fibers. Please, if you look here in the diagram with me, the fibers are going in the oblique direction. There was one question in the exam in 2013, I think. They were asking about that what is the origin. They have given you the direction that the muscle, it is going in the direction of oblique. So name the muscle. What is the name of that muscle? So any fibers which are going in the oblique direction, the name of that muscle will be external oblique muscle. And if you see here, from the opposite side, external oblique muscle from the right side and from the left side, it forms an aponeurosis into the linea alba, and it is supplied, the external oblique muscle, it is supplied by the lower 6th thoracic nerve. The importance of this muscle is that the lower part of this muscle, it gets thickens and helps in the formation of the inguinal ligament. Now, what is inguinal ligament? It's a ligament which is extending from the anterior superior iliac spine to the pubic tubercle. Am I clear till here so far? Any questions?
Please repeat the origin.
Yes. So if you see, you can see that these muscles, this external oblique muscle, it will arise from the lower 8 ribs. From the outer surface of the lower 8 ribs, this muscle arises and it gets inserted into the anterior 2/3 of the iliac crust. It is supplied. So in the there was one question that I'm asking all of you, if anyone can voluntarily answer me. What is the nerve supply of the external oblique muscle? The options are T1 to T5, T6 to T12, and T7 to T12. Anyone, please. These are the 3 options. And the slide is in front of you. I'll repeat my question once again. What is the nerve supply of external oblique muscle? It is option A, T1 to T5 thoracic nerves, T6 to T12 thoracic nerves, T7 to T12 thoracic nerves.
Ma'am,
Anyone would like to give it?
Ma'am, T7 to T12 thoracic nerves.
Yeah, who is this with us?
Ma'am, Dr. Rubina.
Yeah, Rubina, excellent. Now, can you explain us why not T6 to T12? They're very close to each other, T6 and T7. Yes, excellent. T7 to T12 is the correct answer. Why? Because it says the lower six thoracic nerves. If we start from down, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7. So the option can in the exam can either be lower six thoracic nerves or it can be in between T7 to T12. Any of the option is given will be your correct answer. So the question
Excuse me, ma'am. Dr. Sir, please check your mic.
So internal oblique muscle, it originates from lateral two-thirds of the inguinal ligament and anterior two-thirds of the iliac crust. So internal oblique muscle, it originates from anterior two-thirds of the iliac crust, while external oblique muscle, it gets inserted into the anterior two-thirds of the iliac crust. So you can remember, one gets it inserts into the muscle of the lower linea alba and pubic crust. This is the external oblique muscle here. The external oblique muscle, and this is the inguinalosus. Now the third muscle we have of the lateral wall muscles, that is the transverse abdominis. It gets originated from the lateral one-third or from the inguinal lower six costal cartilages. It also all the three muscles they get inserted into the aponeurosis of linea alba, and this transverse abdominis muscle anyone would like to give it? Can anyone tell me what are the muscles of the lateral wall? Just the quick revision. We have so many participants here. The anterior abdominal wall muscles include rectus abdominis and the pyramidalis muscle. And exactly, yes, Dr. iPhone, you're very right. Sanseeda, are you able to hear me? I'm so sorry for the connectivity that is causing you problem. I'm really sorry for that. For the lateral wall muscles, we have external oblique, internal oblique, transverse abdominis, as Dr. iPhone just told us right now. Yeah, Robina, exactly. You're very right. All of you are very right in the chat box. I can see. Now, what are the muscles of the posterior wall muscles? So the posterior wall muscles include psoas major, psoas minor, the quadratus lumborum, and the iliacus muscle. These are the 4 muscles that are found in the posterior abdominal wall. And diaphragm is definitely, it's one of the muscles as well, which comes in between chest and abdomen. It originates from xiphoid process, lower 6 costal cartilages, the lateral and the medial arcuate ligament, that is L2, L3, and the median arcuate ligament. So we have medial and the median arcuate. One is L and the other one is N. Please remember this. And it is inserted, the diaphragm muscle, it is inserted into the central tendon. Diaphragm is supplied by pharynx nerve, that is C3, C4, and C5. We all know the function of the diaphragm, that
No voice, ma'am.
the quadratus lumborum muscle, it originates from iliolumbar ligament, iliac crust, the lower lumbar transverse processes, and it gets inserted into the rib 12 and upper lumbar transverse processes. So you can remember lumborum from the lumbar, it will get inserted to there, L, L. And it is supplied by T12 to L3. It fixes the rib 12. It helps in flexion of the tongue and flexes the vertical vertebral column on the lateral side. And it is supplied by the iliolumbar artery, lumborum, and will supply with the lumbar artery. So it becomes iliolumbar artery. it is supplied to the psoas major, and when the iliacus muscle, see iliopsoas muscle. Now, psoas major muscle, psoas major muscle, it arises from the lumbar vertebra. It arises from the lumbar vertebra. It gets inserted into the lesser trochanter. The psoas major and the iliacus muscle, it helps in the flexion and rotation of the thigh medially, and then it helps in rotation of the thigh laterally as well. And arises from the and the yeah. So the minor muscle, it arises psoas minor muscle. It arises from vertebra of T12 and L1, and also it in get in, and the intervertebral bone of iliac fascia. It So I will be quickly I'll be quickly revising what are the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall and the lateral wall muscles and the posterior wall muscle. Can anyone help me with that? So for the anterior abdominal wall muscles, we have two muscles, that is the rectus abdominis and the pylorus muscle that we just discussed before. For the lateral wall, we have three muscles, that is the external oblique, internal oblique, and the transverse abdominis. For the posterior wall, we studied four muscles, that is quadratus lumborum, the psoas major, psoas minor, and the iliacus muscle. Any questions still here? Anyone would like to ask? Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so can anyone just tell me what are the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall? Anyone? Hamda, would you like to give it a try?
Few muscles.
Hmm.
Few muscles.
Hmm. Yes, rectus abdominis and pyramidalis, they come in the anterior abdominal wall, and for the lateral wall, we have three muscles, external oblique, internal oblique, and transverse abdominis. For the posterior abdominal wall, yes, Hamda, for the posterior abdominal walls, what are the muscles? Rubina, would you like to give it a try?
Ma'am, quadratus lumborum, psoas major,
Hmm.
psoas minor, and iliacus.
Excellent. Yeah, they are the four muscles of the posterior abdominal wall. So any questions still here? Or all of you are clear? Any questions from how to apply for the exam form with regards to the syllabus? Whatever, any questions?
I have taken eligibility last year. Now again I will take eligibility.
No. If your eligibility form has no, Vivo, if your eligibility form has been accepted once by the RCOG college, you don't need to fill it again. You just need to attach that with your exam form. Okay. Anyone else having any questions? No questions still here?
Ma'am, no voice.
Any questions still here? So for tomorrow, what we are going to do? We are going to continue our session. We are going to just have a quick revision of these muscles again, along with rectus sheath, inguinal ligament, femoral canal, femoral triangle, femoral sheath. We are going to cover these important topics for tomorrow. So any questions till now before we end our session? And now either so we will just so I'm just going to end our session for today by just saying a very small and a beautiful quote that you are the one who are going to make your life a masterpiece. Imagine that you don't have any limitations on what you can be, you have to, or you can do it. It's you who are going to do it. And together, with the aim with the help of the MedHome team, we are going to make it a successful journey for all of you. So thank you so much everyone for attending today's session, and tomorrow we'll be meeting at the same time, that is 4 p.m. GMT, and for Pakistanis and Indians we will be meeting at 8 p.m. and 8. Thank Yes, I'll be discussing with those SPs tomorrow. SPs.